Let's go ahead and take a look at Sunday, the final day of the week. Who can we add to win our matchup, maybe push ourselves into the playoffs, Michael Bolton?
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and is it possible that Red Rooster is actually better than KFC? I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers on FanDuel can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Also go to lockedondaily.com. Sign up, get a newsletter for your favorite team into your inbox 5 days a week. Double bang this one and thumb and subscribe and comment. All that stuff is very useful to me and helps a lot. Helps you a lot too, because then you get to see the shows in your feed and you never miss anything. All right, we're talking Sunday. We have got an early start. What is the first game? 1 p.m. Eastern. Nuggets Celtics matinee. The games, when do they finish? Sort of an early finish. Not particularly early, but we've got a couple of early games. In fact, there is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the 9 games begin before 7 p.m. Eastern. So we've just got to be on top of that and aware of it. It is Dr. Seuss Day on Sunday, so shout out to your green eggs and ham. Get them ready to go for a bit of a breakfast as you get ready for those games and setting your lineups. And we're talking just about what we need to discuss here in terms of streaming options. Let's look at the schedule. Let's see how that plays out on Sunday and then further into Week 20. Did a whole Week 20 preview show earlier today, so you can go check that out if you want. If you don't want, just check it anyway. Who's got the Sunday, Monday back-to-back? There are 4 teams: Miami, Oklahoma City, Portland, and the Jazz. And the Jazz is going to be a really key feature of all of this Sunday stuff. They've got a Sunday, Monday back-to-back, and their game on Sunday is against the Pelicans. And they snuck a win they didn't want on Friday against the Wolves. So, yeah. The Blazers, with they're not going to catch the bottom team, so what do they do on the back-to-back? They've got a couple of injury worries. The Thunder and Chet Holmgren, he's going to rest anyway in one of these back-to-backs, and then he got hurt last game, so I would say there is 0.01% chance that Chet plays on Sunday. And then Miami dealing with issues with Wigo and Bam Adebayo as well, so we just be aware of that. That's where we're at with how the schedule plays out in that respect. In terms of chunks, Sunday through Thursday, every one of these days is streamable. So we look at some guys who've got 3 games in 5 nights, especially if you're in a roto league and you look to just prioritize, or you're not in playoffs necessarily, or you've got different moves. This is just a good idea to see where games sit. We've got 6 names we'll talk about here, all of them under 30% rostered on Yahoo. We go to Jaxson Hayes, Cole Anthony with Jalen Suggs, and I haven't mentioned this on the podcast yet, but we got the update on Jalen Suggs yesterday. It doesn't seem like he's coming back anytime soon, as he was ramping back up from the quad contusion. He suffered an issue with the trochlea, which is like the little groove at the top of the femur, bottom of the femur, next to the knee, which caused a flattening, which if you do need surgery on that, apparently it's a 6-month recovery. Otherwise, we're talking probably 3 to 4 weeks minimum. So yeah, we've got no problem dropping Jalen Suggs there. Now, Cole Anthony will start, I'm guessing, most games, but as we've seen with the Magic all the way through, you get the occasional Mr. Black big game. Otherwise, it's Cole Anthony most of the time, but occasionally Anthony Black pops off. Aaron Nesmith with Benedict Mathurin out, it just gives 3 to 4 extra minutes onto someone like Nesmith, so the value there for him bumps. Yeah, it's been rough from Quentin Grimes, but 3 and 5, I'll give it a crack. Lonzo Ball, I'll give it a crack as well. And then the same with Nesmith, we go to Andrew Nembhard as another option, who's available in a lot of different spots with that extra bit of a bump, because Ben Mathurin is out for this period of time. Sunday through to Saturday, it's a 7-day period. It's not a traditional week, but it is 7 days. But there is one team that's got 5 games. So just be aware of these injuries that are cropping up in Miami for the Heat, with Andrew Wiggins and Bam Adebayo popping up on injury reports, that they've got a very busy period of their schedule coming up. Jaime Jaquez also hurt his ankle last game. He was the Andrew Wiggins replacement. Then he got hurt. So you've got some opportunities maybe, especially when you're looking at streaming, occurring there in Miami. Now, again, we're doing this test, and we'll continue to do this test and report on it and see how it all goes. But what we've got here is talking about my streaming plan for the week, and this is the final ad for the one-slot stream method. And I've got two names that I'm looking at there. They've either got to be under 30% on Yahoo or under 45% on Basketball Monster. So the two names I'm going to look at there are Zach Collins with Vooch, I think doubtful again for the Bulls. I'll just double check that one. Vooch has actually been ruled out for the Bulls. And Andrew Nembhard, like I said, with Benedict Mathurin out. So they're going to be my two guys that I throw in to finish off that streaming study. So that the stream will end up being for one slot, Grimes into 2 games Keldon Johnson, into 2 games Najee Marshall, into Zach Collins. And the other one will be Chris Dunn into 2 games of Dylan Brooks, 2 games of Moses Moody, and 1 game of Andrew Nembhard. And then we'll total all that up and see how it looks. In terms of some key injury statuses, there's been a couple of updates on this, which there always seems to be, but we'll just talk about what we know at this point. Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis have now been ruled doubtful, so they're probably not going to play. They also don't play Monday, Tuesday, then they've got a Wednesday, Thursday back-to-back, so it's a pretty lean period here for the Celtics. Jaylen Brown, though, has been added to the injury report with a questionable tag, so be aware of that. Aaron Gordon is questionable as well with the ankle sprain. He missed the last game. In Portland, Denny Avdia and Jeremy Grant are both questionable Sunday. They've got the Sunday, Monday back-to-back. We'll see what happens there. The other thing that happened in that game is the Cavs decided they're going to rest Donovan Mitchell, who played a lot of minutes in that game in that big comeback over Boston. And Mitchell is resting in this game, so the bumps happen there for Ty Jerome, for Isaac Okoro, for Dean Wade, for Max Strus, for DeAndre Hunter, as well as the other starters, of course. So Mitchell's going to sit there. I put Chet Holmgren there. I just cannot see Chet playing in this game. It doesn't make any sense when he was probably going to sit one of the Sunday, Monday games anyway. And the last time we saw him on Friday, he left the game early, so I don't really see why Chet would be available. The other one to watch is Oklahoma City because it's Isaiah Joe. And Alex Caruso rested the last game. I expect that he plays, but Joe left the last game early, so we could have no Chet and no Joe. So then Wiggins and Dort and even Caruso and Hartenstein obviously get bumps there. I'll put the Jazz there, and we'll talk a little bit more Jazz in a second, but I'm just going to say the Jazz. Norman Powell, questionable. I'm putting him questionable. We haven't got an official update on him just yet. I've got Austin Reeves, who left the last game with what they called calf soreness. That's not ideal. We know how the NBA dishes out the soreness tag. They throw soreness out there and it ends up being a strain. So just we need to watch that, obviously. Minnesota, Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. I've got them currently listed as doubtful. They could easily play, but I don't know that yet. And then we go to Phoenix, where Grayson Allen and Bradley Beal missed the last game as well. And obviously their absences open things up more for Bol and also for Tyus Jones and Royce O'Neal, who are able to put in more minutes in the last game. Let's talk about... I'll come back. I will talk about... should we do it now? No, let's talk about it now. Let's talk about the Utah Jazz situation now, because there are 3 names here. Now, the Jazz play a really busy period of their schedule coming up. I think they've got 6 games in 9 nights. The problem there is that 4 of those games are against 4 of the worst 6 teams in the NBA, including Sunday's game against the Pelicans. And then they go up against the Pistons, then they've got the Wizards, then they've got the Hornets, I think, in there. So we've got to be really cautious with this. Now, we don't really expect these Jazz guys to play on a back-to-back, and the Sunday games against the Pelicans. So the names Kyle Filipowski, KJ Martin, and Bryce Sensabaugh. Now, I am including them on the Points League streaming list, just down the bottom of the list, but because I just don't know about Markkanen, Collins, Kessler, Sexton, Clarkson. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. If we follow their pattern, they may sit these guys on Sunday, but I don't know. So Filipowski, Martin, Sensabaugh are just names to watch, depending on which direction the Jazz do end up deciding to go in terms of sitting with a busy schedule coming up and a stretch with a bunch of bad teams. We're going to come back, talk Points League streaming. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on that action than with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets all throughout the game. So even if you miss out on that opening tip or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, well, you can do it. You can place all those live bets on many different things throughout the game, and you can actually combine them as well to increase your payout into same-game parlays. Right now, new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Go and visit FanDuel.com and join today. That is FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, let's take a look at some streaming stuff now. We'll head into Points League streaming, and Yahoo and ESPN Points Leagues is where we'll start. Like I said, those Jazz guys, I'll put both those names down the bottom. Kyle Filipowski and KJ Martin. KJ Martin becomes a stream if John Collins is out. Kyle Filipowski becomes the stream if Walker Kessler is out. Bryce Sensabaugh becomes more of a stream if Lauri Markkanen is out, and then Colin Sexton and Clarkson. There's a whole bunch of different stuff. But again, we are currently in the dark. I don't believe we've got an update yet from the Jazz. No, we don't. Hopefully we get one soon, but don't have one yet. All right, that's good. We'll just keep an eye on that to see if anything comes through. So in terms of a guy we're looking at here is Zach Collins. Now, I don't know what the Bulls are going to do. I know the last time that their centers were healthy, Collins played 0 minutes and Jalen Smith was Vooch's backup. And then Smith got a concussion, Vooch got injured, and Collins had a run at starting. Played 2 games, had a really big one of them. So then Billy Donovan did the thing where, okay, Jalen, you're back, now you're playing 12 minutes, which again, would be incredibly frustrating to manage from a locker room perspective, considering it's like, bro, I've been here as the backup all year waiting for this, and I miss one game and Zach Collins gets it. That would be frustrating to deal with. So we'll see how Billy deals with it. Does he keep Zach Collins playing 30 plus minutes and Smith playing 12? I don't know. Or do they go back to Smith starting, which is what the original plan was? I don't know. We'll find out. But I'm going to put Collins there because we just have to, all I can do is follow what happened in the last game for that one. So Collins is there. I've got Aaron Wiggins there. No Chet, probably. Probably no Isaiah Joe. So Aaron Wiggins available. Andrew Nembhard. Yep. He's not someone I like as a must-roster player, but everything lines up at the moment for him to be a good option. The Hong Kong Mattress, Carson Wallace. He is under 10% rostered on Yahoo, and Joe might be out. Chet is almost definitely out, so that means Wallace probably starts and plays 30 minutes. I like it. And then there's the 2 Jazz guys I put there, KJ Martin and Kyle Filipowski. You could throw Sensabaugh in there as well, but again, we don't know what they're going to do we? We do not know. We can guess what they're going to do, but we don't know. By the way, Hornets-Wizards game today, guess who's playing? LaMelo Ball and Mark Williams. Of course they are. So we'll see what that means. ESPN point streaming, a lot of the same names. We've got the 2 Jazz guys at the bottom, Filipowski and KJ Martin, and we're going to do Zach Collins. We've got Aaron Wiggins. We've got Andrew Nembhard, but I'm going to throw Davion Mitchell in there, who's playing 1 million minutes. He looks better than he has at any point in his career, whether in Toronto or Sacramento. He's getting large minutes, and he got decent minutes in Toronto, especially when Quickly was out earlier in the season. It didn't really deliver us much in that spot, but it was solid enough. But now we're getting a little bit more. The assists are up slightly. The scoring's up slightly. The shooting is up slightly. He's not a guy that I love as a 12-team league guy, but we just discussed it. That they've got 5 games in 7 nights starting on Sunday, plus guys like Huckers and Wiggins and then even Bam popping up on injury reports. So maybe Mitchell's worth a bit of an extended look here. He's at least worthy of consideration in this particular spot. Let's now look again with... Now, what I've done now for the category league streaming is I'm just not going to include any of these Jazz guys. Because I could easily say, well, look, Filipowski and Sensabaugh and Martin are at the top of all these spots. I'm not going to include them because I don't know. So I'll put the caveat out there again. I'll drop that little slide across there. Like Filipowski, Martin, Sensabaugh could really bump up to the top of any of these lists, just depending on how Utah runs this. But I don't know, so I'm going to take them off for now. Points League, or not Points League, for category league streaming for the points category. Who are we going to stream in? Again, we hit the different roster percentage thresholds. We're going to go with Gradey Dick, with no Brandon Ingram, of course, but you've got Barrett, you've got Barnesy, you've got Quickly. Dick's not going to do a huge amount, but double-digit points is possible. We can look at the pencil. Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Is he good? No. But an opportunity to get some double-digit points with 20-point upside. Duncan Robinson's been playing a lot of minutes lately, and we know what Eric Spoelstra does. He'll do this and go, oh, so here we go, 30 minutes Duncan, 30 minutes Duncan, 30 minutes Duncan. Then he'll go, actually, 18, or actually 0. And we don't know when that switch comes. But usually you can get 2 to 3 to 4, 5, who knows? So we roll with it for now. I've got Cole Anthony on there, who, again, could easily just have one of those random bad ones where Anthony Black steps up ahead of him. No idea, but I like him there. Aaron Nesmith, and then we go to Sam Hauser. No Drew, no Porzingis, maybe no Jalen. He is very dependent on threes, obviously, but could he hit 4 of them, have 12 points? Very, very easily. Very easily, and hits that really low roster percentage threshold that we're looking for in this spot. So it's no surprise when we're looking at streaming three-pointers that a lot of those same names repeat there. Sam Hauser and Duncan Robinson. Both guys can hit 6 or 7 in a blink. Even Lonzo Ball, he doesn't really take twos at all. He's a 3 to 4 triples upside player. Doesn't really take any twos. He's not going to score a lot, but he will take threes. I'll put Lou Dort in there. Now, Dort is... You could have even put Dort in the points streaming section. We know that he's very hit or miss. He does take a large percentage of his shots from 3. I believe, from memory, his 2-point percentage is actually horrific this season, but his 3-point numbers are okay. And he's worth looking at when we're trying to get some volume in, because we know his role is relatively secure. I've got Nickeil Alexander-Walker there as well. We're working under the assumption that Randall and Gobert won't be playing. Yeah, TJ Shannon played a lot of minutes last game, but Alexander-Walker still played over 30. And I think that they'll probably move DiVincenzo back into the starting lineup just in case he's not rostered. Just grab DiVincenzo. But Alexander-Walker's worth a look. And then Dick is another 3-point option for us as well. That's what he does. He shoots from the outside. And sometimes they go in. Assists, we are going to move through the guard, small man type stats into big man stats. After that, we'll go with Davion Mitchell, who's getting a big opportunity. A lot of ball handling, 35, 36, 38 minutes in some games. But he could get 7 or 8 assists there. Not easy to get that volume. I'll go with Andrew Nembhard next. Again, just removing Ben Mathurin out of the equation is 24 minutes that usually just get pushed into Nembhard and Nesmith and a little bit to McConnell. Lonzo Ball, his assist numbers are actually way down at the moment, but he can still get 5. I've got Ben Simmons there. We know what the other issues are with Simmons' game, but in 18 minutes, he can get 5 or 6. He even had 8 the other day. Mike Conley, who I think will move back to the bench and play his 21, 22 minutes, but 4 or 5 assists. He's definitely not comfortable taking 2-point shots anymore. So he's more looking for those assists. And then we've got TJ McConnell as the deeper league option as a reserve, getting those 15 or 16 minutes being useful enough for you. We'll come back and talk more guard stats, but today's episode, it is also brought to you by DoorDash. And you know, NBA fans, that if someone drops a 50-point game, like Steph did the other day, well, when Steph swooshes, or any player swooshes, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in an NBA regular season game of the 24-25 season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. So it doesn't matter what it is you're craving, burgers or pizza or tacos, nachos, noodles maybe, a nice rice dish, whatever it is. DoorDash and Dash Pass is going to help you out. Sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders of participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. All right. We'll get in here now and look at some more of these categories. We've done assists. Let's move into steals. And the obvious one there is Chris Dunn. You could even throw him in as an assist option, but Norman Powell being in or out, I don't really think that impacts Dunn's ability to get steals or his role as a starter. Maybe it takes a couple of minutes off the top, but he's been unbelievable at doing this. He's probably a must-roster guy, honestly. Cason Wallace is there. He should get an extra bump, and he is an excellent steals guy. Lonzo Ball makes a lot of his money off getting steals. Alex Caruso is also a 4-steal upside guy. Every one of these players, Dunn, Wallace, Ball, and Caruso, 4-steal, 5-steal upside easily. Dorian Finney-Smith is one for the deeper leagues who's getting extra run with maybe Reeves out, but definitely Hachimura out. And that means that DFS can get 2 to 3s, not as high upside as other guys. And same with Mike Conley, who's a pretty good steals guy, but you probably don't have the 4 or 5 steal upside in Conley. It's 1 to 2. And I do think, again, he will probably be a bench guy in this upcoming game. For free throw percentage, a lot of the same names. Gradey Dick is there. Michael Conley, Aaron Nesmith, Duncan Robinson. This one's a little bit riskier, the last two. Alec Burks. Because he played 0 minutes in Miami. But he could also play 20 and get a couple of shots at the line. The other one is Amir Coffey, whose value does bump if Norman Powell is out. Now, I don't think there's any real danger of Coffey playing 0 minutes, but he might play 18 versus 28, depending on the presence of Powell. But he can be a free throw guy. He's not that terrible at getting himself to the line. If you want to take a look at some big man streams now, we go to rebounds. And I'm not going to put Zach Collins in here because I'm using, everyone's going to be below 65% threshold on Basketball Monster to hit that, and he's not. So I will put Jalen Smith, though, because I don't know what they do. I don't know. Do they just go back to splitting it half and half? Does Smith play 16 minutes and get 6 rebounds? Maybe. But I'll put him there. Jaxson Hayes also Definitely not a must-hold guy, but when we're looking for those big man numbers, he can help. Kelly Olynyk should be back after resting. Same with Zion and CJ. Olynyk played the last game, and he's probably worth a 12-team hold amazingly at the moment. I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, hey, let's prioritize Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk, but it's what they're doing, so whatever. Olynyk's there. Jabari Walker with Robert Williams out in Portland, and maybe Jeremy Grant out. You can get 5 or 6 rebounds, maybe. You got the cockroach Mason Plumlee, and then there's Al Horford, who could play a lot of minutes. He played, 37 last game, and there's no Porzingis again. So they're going to have to rely a little bit more there on Horford as an option. For blocks, we go back to Jaxson Hayes. You can throw Goga Bitadze in. There's actually quite a few rebound guys. Goga Bitadze, Bismack Biyombo didn't even make that list. But they're there too. For blocks, I go with Hayes. Bitadze's got 4 block upside in 17 minutes, so that's useful enough to stream in there. Matas Buzelis has been dropped in a lot of spots, rightfully so, but if we're talking out of position block guys, a power forward who might get you 2 or 3, that is what Buzelis does. I've got Bismack Biyombo, who's signed for the rest of the season, so no more 10 days anymore. So he's there rest of year, probably starts rest of year. I don't think Charles Bassey's going to play rest of year, honestly, with persistent knee problems. They've got John Isaac, who's the 3-block upside guy. And then there's the ice cream, Luke Cornett, who could easily get a larger role with Kristaps Porzingis not likely to play, and he can come in and get 2 or 3 blocks in his time. And then last category for the big man, we're looking at field goal percentage. Same names again. Jaxson Hayes, the ice cream Luke Cornett, Goga Bitadze, Mitch Robinson, who, by the way, Mitch Robinson's block rate has plummeted the last couple of years. He played 12 minutes in his return. He maybe plays 15 or so here. I don't think he ever gets enough to matter for most leagues, but if you're looking for a field goal percentage option, that's what he does. Then we've got TJ McConnell and Tom Bryant for deeper leagues if you're looking to stream in. TJ's obviously the weird one there with the high field goal, high assist numbers, because that's the sort of player he is, while Bryant is Bryant and he's bad, but he can help influence that field goal percentage category. And that is a nice little, somewhat quickish stream guide for Sunday. There are 9 games on. We're trying to win the matchup. We're trying to make it into the playoffs. We're trying to position ourselves in the league. And that's, I think, some ideas of how you can do it. Remember, early game, 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. If you bang and thumb and comment on this one, maybe you will remember to set your lineups. I hope you do. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.